If your hips always feel stiff and tight after training or sitting or running, then spend the next 10 minutes with me. When the body feels stiff, the natural instinct is to stretch it. And that's not necessarily bad, but we're not going to change the reoccurring stiffness if we just stretch. What we've got to do is understand why the body experiences and creates that tension in the first place. And very often it's because there's a lack of options within the movement available to it. So the body creates tension to feel safe and secure and to protect something. And what we have to do is unlock that tension and provide more movement options. So for starters, what I'd like you to do is get down into your most comfortable squat position. So this is the assessment. So you're just gonna find what feels most comfortable right now and make a note. How does it feel in the hips? Is the weight in one particular part of the foot? Is there any pressure on a specific part? How do the knees feel? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel under pressure? And then coming up to the hips, does it feel easier on one side than it does on the other? And then into the lower back, muscles that are working harder. And this is your reference point. This is the assessment, because we're going to compare how this feels after the next 10 minutes. So today I've got 5 movements for you. And each one builds on the last. Remember, don't force through range. It's not about how far you move, it's more important how you move. The first movement is pelvic rotations. I'm going to start with the head supported. And this is the bit that often people forget, is what happens with the upper body is as important as what happens with the lower body. Because if I am doing my pelvic rotations, but I am pushing my neck into the floor, or I'm arching my back, then I'm not teaching my body that this is a safe movement and that my pelvis can move, which helps me organize where the hip socket is, which is part of the hip joint. So we just start with smooth, easy rotation. The breath stays relaxed. We don't need any focus of in on this movement, out on the next movement. Just stays relaxed. The head is sinking into the towel. Do I rotate through the middle of the pelvis? Is it easier one direction than the other? What happens in my feet? Next, we've got the side lying thigh slide. Again, credit to Joanne Elphinston and the GEMS Institute for this. We're looking for the same smooth movement. So the principle of movement stays the same. But this time we get the idea that the top thigh slides along the bottom thigh. On the backward movement, it's this sensation of the hip drawing the knee into it. The upper body stays in the same relative position. Okay, now what we're going to do is open the front of one hip and the back of the other hip at the same time. So with this dynamic hip mobilization, it's very specifically not a hip flexor stretch. So I often see this where people bring the body backwards, puts the back into a lot of extension, and yeah, you might feel the stretch, but we're not really changing the way the hips move. What we want to do is allow this hip and trunk to maintain the same alignment as I move forwards onto the front leg. When I'm here, the back of the front leg is now opening up into hip bending, hip flexion. So it's like my hip comes towards the heel, but I keep my trunk in line with the back leg. So I focus on hip straightening, hip bending. And then it's just a smooth, relaxed movement. Next, we're going to explore movement at the back of the hip. So come down onto all fours, and the movement is a sense of sitting back into both hips. So start with both hips at first, pause, and then coming forwards. The weight stays really through the knees, the hip, and the pelvis. We have this sense of just a backward movement into the hip. Pause, forward. We're looking to avoid any extension, tightening through the back. With the upper body, I'm fairly relaxed in my shoulders. I'm not stiff, locked out. It's not a press up. There's a bit of weight, but I can choose to move my hands freely because I've got this foundation in the hip. And now the fifth move, and this is where I think this brings everything together. So we're going to do the static lunge rotation. So first things first, step into a lunge position. The back leg doesn't matter how far it goes back at first, as long as the weight is on the front leg predominantly. But there's still a 70%, 30% split. What I'm going to do is drop down. So we're really teaching the hip now to absorb the force vertically. We drop down and then I rotate. I can do it as drop down rotations. And when I feel a little bit more confident, I can do it as one movement. Now it's time to retest. Drop back down into that squat where we started and just see what's changed. How does it compare? Where's the weight in that foot? Does the pressure still exist in the same areas? Does it feel easier, harder? Has it highlighted something else? And what I'd be really interested in is if one movement stood out for you specifically, please put it in the comments. I really like to know if there's certain things that affect you in a specific way. And if you'd like to understand more about why the body moves the way that it does, and not just get a list of exercises, then please subscribe. Next time, what we're going to explore is why hip stiffness and back pain often travel together. See you next time.